Hi everybody, and welcome to another Mediumship Clinic live question and answer with me, Martin Twycross. I do these classes on a monthly basis, and they're an opportunity for you to bring along any questions that you have in relation to mediumship, development, spiritualism, any of the topics you want to ask me about. Feel free. I run these classes for two reasons really, and one is that they're a support to my study program, to my courses, to my products. And the other one is I get a huge volume of emails and messenger messages asking me about certain questions in relation to mediumship development, and it's got to the point where I'm not really able to answer them anymore. So one of the reasons I do this class live on YouTube is that you can bring your questions along here, pick my brains, and I'll do my best to answer them. So I'm hoping that you can all see me and hear me okay. If you can type it in the chat box. That'd be great to know, because it'd be a real shame if I'm talking to myself and you guys can't hear me. So the way the chat works is that you put your questions in the chat box and I'll work through them one at a time. If you would like to have your question answered earlier, if you want to have it answered straight away, you can donate through Super Chat. Super Chat is a little $ you'll see at the bottom of the chat box. That gives me a small donation, and if you make a small donation to the channel, then I will endeavour to answer your question next. I'll finish what I'm doing, obviously, and answer it next. So I also want to say to you as well, a happy new year, a very happy 2022 to you all. And I can see there's quite a few of you in the room. Ed, Dominique, Gail, Holly, Lily, Andreas, Karen, Cheryl, welcome to all of you in the room. Wonderful. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, do check it out, and welcome also to everybody who's watching this on the repeat, on the replay. You're very welcome as well. So to ask a question, you have to be logged into Google. Some people said to me, I came on your live stream and I couldn't ask you a question, and I don't know why. And the answer is you've got to be logged into Google, and then you can put your question in the chat box, and then I should be able to read it. So let me just pop the chat box open as well, pop it out so I can make it big. That's always helpful to be able to see your questions. Otherwise, I'm just looking at a tiny wee box in the corner. What else do I need to tell you? So I do have a Facebook group, Mediumship Teachings with Martin Twycross. If you're interested, you can join that. One thing I would say, though, is I get so many requests from strange people to join it that generally I accept people if we have groups in common or friends in common. If we don't have groups or friends in common, send me a message through Facebook to let me know that you are interested, that you have seen me on the live stream or wherever, and just let me know, because as I say, I get so many people who ask to join that I don't think I have any interest whatsoever in mediumship, that I like to try and make sure that the people I'm accepting are the right people. So I do aim to do the class and to finish it within an hour and a half, so I'm aiming to finish by 8:30. So welcome also to Amy, to Omar, to Julie, and to Thanachmi. I think that's how, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not, but I hope it's close. So I can see that we have a few questions building up in the chat box. Let me get stuck in. So first question. Gail, would love some pointers on how to maintain a give and take chat with spirit. I can see and hear them, but often they don't seem to hear me. Okay, so the thing is, one of the things we have to understand is the way spirit communicate with us is not by talking. Spirit don't communicate to us through words and conversation. Spirit, I can't talk to spirit and just hear back the way I can to people in this world. That's not how it works. Mediumship functions through telepathy, and it functions through the imparting of thoughts to us, and we receive it through psychic faculties. We often translate it into imagery, into feelings, into words, occasionally into a knowing. If you're interested in understanding how all of that works, you can check out my video on the fundamentals of medium, my course on the fundamentals of mediumship, or my videos class 3, class 4, where I go into it in a bit of detail there as well. But basically, spirit are not talking to us. And the way we communicate with spirit is by blending with them, and then we send thoughts to them. That's how we communicate with them. But do we know that they receive our thoughts? Not always. It depends how good a blend we have with them. Our guides may receive the thoughts, spirit may not. The guides may have to pass them on. So, but think about it. Why should spirit come forward to talk to you if their loved ones are not in front of you? So I highly recommend you check out my video tips on how to practice mediumship, because in that video I explain when mediumship is appropriate. Now, I wouldn't just sit here by myself with not in contact with anybody and try and have a communication with spirit, because there's no logical sense that spirit communicators would come forward to me. Even my own loved ones, there's challenges working with our own loved ones. And I've got a video on that as well, on why it's difficult to connect to our own loved ones. So check that one out on my channel as well if you want to know why it's hard to connect to your loved ones. And the main reasons are you already know a great deal about them, and it can be wishful thinking in the creation of our mind. So you have to be doing it for somebody else. So we receive information, we give it to somebody else, and the fact that other people can understand that information demonstrates we are linking with spirit. If I'm sat here by myself having a conversation with spirit, how do I know I'm not deluding myself? I don't. That's the biggest problem we face, is the issue of delusion. My own subconscious mind is quite capable of creating it. My own subconscious mind is quite capable of creating things like that. So we have to be very careful. So you're saying you can see and hear spirit, but often they don't seem to hear you. That's to do with the connection. So if you're working for somebody and you're receiving thoughts from spirit, you can see spirit in your mind's eye, and it's all working, the other person can take it, but you're asking questions and it's not being understood. You're not blended well enough. So they're projecting information to you that you're receiving, but it's to do with the blend. The blend needs to be closer. And some links we have a very good blend, some links we don't. It's just potluck. It's just the way it goes. So I hope that helps answer your question, Gail. So next question from Ed. How do you develop clairaudience? And do you know, I hear a lot of mediums who say if you do this, you'll develop clairaudience. And if I told you that, I would be doing you a disservice. Do I have clairaudience? Not particularly, no. Do I know many mediums who have amazing clairaudience? No. How many of the great mediums of the past had clairaudience? A number did, but not lots. Gordon Higginson did, Estelle Roberts did, Helen Hughes did, but it was pretty uncommon, to be truthful. So I know very few mediums currently working. I don't know anybody who I routinely see who gets strong, true clairaudience. Now, clairaudience we can separate out into what I call perceived clairaudience and true clairaudience. And what I mean by that is perceived clairaudience is where spirit projects the thought at you and your mind converts it to words. But spirit are not talking to you. It's your mind. You are an auditory person who likes to function in words. But I notice it the most when I hear people say, oh, he tells me he was in his late 70s or early 80s. Well, no, he'd tell you he was 79. Or he tell you he was 81. Spirit are not going to tell you a little range. Or he tells me he was about 5'7", 5'8", 5'9". No, they're going to say I was 5'8". I might have shrunk to 5'7" in my old age, but they're going to tell you clear. They're going to give names. They're going to give devastatingly accurate information when it's true clairaudience. That's the important thing to recognize. True clairaudience is very hard to develop. I believe that our clairs actually unfold as we move along our development, as we move along our journey. Now, yes, there are exercises I can do in classes, courses, workshops that will help people to work with clairaudience a little bit by isolating it, by separating it, by looking for it. Yes, I get that. I see that. I know other people who teach to imagine focusing on your ears and you become clairaudient. You don't. Trust me, you won't. It's not really a good activity for a long time. What else? This is the problem. I'll focus on the throat chakra and you become clairaudient. Not in my experience, you won't. No. I've tried focusing on the throat chakra, the third eye. It's made no difference whatsoever to my mediumship. But I'm not big into chakras, so maybe that's why. Who knows? It may for you. Your mileage may vary. Check it out. So how do you develop clairaudience? For me, develop your mediumship. Develop your blend with spirit. Unfold the potential within you. And most mediums move through a path, I find, of strongly clairvoyant to begin with. And then clairsentient comes in alongside it. And then clairknowing comes in, and a bit of clairaudient words, but not dominant. And for the majority of mediums, that's where you'll get to. That's where I am. I don't have true clairaudience. I'd love to have true clairaudience, but I haven't got it. So I can't tell you how to develop it because I haven't developed it myself. And I don't know any medium currently working that has it, where the vast majority of all the evidence they give is spoken and devastatingly accurate. It has to be devastatingly accurate. That's the key. So hopefully that helps answer it. And the simple answer is I can't give you an easy answer to develop it. Okay, let's see. What else have we got? Harish, I did sit in the power a few months back. Good. Holly, can you speak about seeing auras? I've always felt I've seen them clairvoyantly. Should you be seeing it physically? It's very hard to see auras physically. So again, I'm not big into seeing the aura because I don't see the aura. Now, maybe I'm not strongly clairvoyant enough to see it, but also maybe again, we don't need it for mediumship or psychic work, and we don't. That's the simple answer. You don't. So if you can't see the aura, don't worry. You've not missed out on a great deal. Now, you can get people and you can line them up against a white wall and you can see an emanation of energy around them. In the UK, we used to have an advert called the Ready Brick advert, and all these kids were going to school after eating their porridge, Ready Brick, and they had this lovely little glow very close to the surface. And that's what we see. We see that little glow around. It's very close to the skin. It emanates not very far. And you can use certain glasses to see it. Kilner screens were a type of aura glass, aura glasses that were invented in, I think, about the early 1900s, 1910, 1920, thereabouts. And they used like an indigo coloured screen, and it was filled with a cyanate, which is a derivative of cyanide. So if it broke and it leaked out, which they invariably did, it wasn't very healthy. But currently you can buy glasses that are used for therapy, like colour therapy glasses. And you can get an indigo colour one of those. And that will help you to see the aura quite clearly on people. When you put that on, that little glow becomes very visible. So if you're interested in seeing it, you can buy aura glasses as well, which are marketed like a cheap pair of cardboard glasses with the same colour filter in it. But they cost about £30. I don't recommend it. Far cheaper to buy a decent set of colour therapy glasses, which will be cheaper anyway. But you kind of need the indigo colour. That's what you're looking for. And Holly, I can see you did a super chat, so that's very much greatly appreciated. So that is what I call the physical aura, the emanation that everybody can be trained to see, especially using a pair of glasses. But some people see the colours within the aura and the emanation of the aura clairvoyantly, but not everybody does. I don't know what the percentage is, but I'd say at least 50% don't, more than that. It's probably only, I don't know, 20-30% who can, if that even. I know Mavis Patilla does, I know Gordon could, but it's not a common thing. And sometimes we're moving into the aura and we sense the colour, or we get an image within our mind of the colour. It's not as if we actually look at someone and say, wow, you've got this most amazing purple here. And what I find is if you're doing an aura reading, what you do is you push into different aspects of the aura, whether that's health, whether that's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. And as you move into different aspects of the aura, the colours that will surface within your mind will change and will vary. But I don't see the colours projected out, no. I see them within my mind, or I can almost feel there's a colour like a red or a brown there. I'm not seeing it entirely, but I kind of have a feeling within my mind of red or brown. So we can clairsentiently see the colours in the aura as well. So there you go. I do see spirit. I do see a lot of clairvoyant things, but auras is not really an area that I've been able to work with in a great deal of detail in terms of seeing them. So if you can see them, wonderful, great. If you can't, that's more challenging. Okay. Okay, Harish, can you be a beginner in meditation and perform sitting in the power, or do you have to be experienced with meditation? I would say sitting in the power is not an absolute beginner's meditation, because to do sitting in the power, it's actually quite a disciplined meditation. It's what I call an intermediate meditation. And some people just find it truly boring. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. If you are new to meditation, you may find it too much. Check out my video, 7 challenges you face, 7 issues when you first start sitting in the power, which is Sit in the Power video 3. I talk about the reasons why it's not a beginner's meditation in detail there. And the problem is, to do sitting in the power, you need to calm the mind. To do sit in the power, you need to get rid of the monkey mind. To do sit in the power, you need to relax the mind and the body. And to do sit in the power, you need to have the discipline of focus. All of that takes time to develop. Most people, when they do meditation, they start with guided visualizations or just relaxation meditations to move into that quiet state. And sitting in the power is what I would say we bring that in down the line. Once you've got settled and you can meditate for 10 or 15 minutes, then sitting in the power is ideal. But if you can't even sit still or meditate for 2 or 3 minutes, sitting in the power is not really going to work for you. So I don't see it personally as a beginner's meditation. But having said that, if you do a little bit of meditation, there's nothing to stop you as a beginner from doing sitting in the power. Absolutely. All I'd say is try it, see how you get on with it. If you find that you've lost it and you've gone somewhere else and you're not holding the blend, because for me, sitting in the power is about blending to your own soul, holding it, then blending to the spirit world and holding it. And it's the discipline of holding it. When something interrupts us, we lose our train of thought, or we hear a loud noise, or the phone rings, we drop out of the connection, we rebuild it and we blend. It's the same when we're working with spirit, which is why it's fabulous training for working with spirit. Because if I'm working with spirit and something knocks me out of the connection, I just go straight back and rebuild it. So that's why sitting in the power is good. But sitting in the power is about unfolding the potentials from within. Why should you do sit in the power? Check out Sit in the Power video 1, where I give you the reasons why. Sit in the power number 2, I give you advice on how to do it. Number 3, I talk about the problems and challenges faced by beginners. And video number 4, it's the problems and challenges you encountered generally by more intermediate students who've been doing it for a while. You know, questions like how do I know I'm doing it right? What should I be experiencing? And all those kind of things. So go check out those videos if you're interested, and we can go through that in a lot more detail. So Lechmi, you said, I kind of get my dad to come over, wish I can speak to him. Yeah, speaking to our own loved ones is not easy. As I say, check out the video for why. And but yeah, for me, if you want to learn to do mediumship, to communicate with your own, it's not the right reason. Mediumship is a gift to be used in service. When you come at it from the right motivation to help other people, it will develop naturally and unfold easily. But when you come at it from a selfish point of view of wanting to contact our own, it gets challenging. For example, I can link with everybody else's loved ones, but with my own, I can feel them around me. I can sort of sense them. I can sort of get a message from them, but I can't differentiate whether it's my own mind, whether my own subconscious needs are interfering in the mix. And you know, I'd love to be able to communicate with my own loved ones day in, day out. I would, trust me, I would. But I think that would stop me working for other people's loved ones. And it's like a safety mechanism that we're not able to communicate with our own in the same way. But check out the video and I'll go into a lot more detail as to why. Lily, just wondering, if you go straight to the light, or do we have to work our way up? I presume you mean when we go to the spirit world. And for me, it's challenging because I don't believe that going to the light is the right terminology. So let me just start off by saying that. When you pass to the spirit world, you'll find yourself in a world that reflects a lot like the world you're used to. When you go to the spirit world, you will not instantly become enlightened. You will not instantly become incredibly spiritual. Becoming spiritual is the journey of the soul. And we have multiple lifetimes, both in this world, in the spirit world, in the worlds, within the entire spirit realm, the entire realm of life, of the divine. So you won't be much different in the spirit world, other than you will see from a totally different perspective. You will understand your true spiritual nature. You'll recognize that the body was a temporary vehicle for you to experience life, and that you may have associated yourself more with the body than you should have done, because actually you're a consciousness, you're a mind, you're a miniature God, you're a miniature creator. You're an aspect of God. God is within you. You are a part of God, but you are not the entirety of God. All 7 billion inhabitants of our planet are a part of God. All souls in existence, however many there are a part of God. It's the totality. If you like, God has broken himself up into all of us, into little bits, and we are just a part of that divine energy, experiencing life and grow. And as we do that, the Great Spirit, God, the divine, also grows and gains knowledge and experience. So absolutely, it's a progression, and it will take time. It will take a long time. We are eternal after all. For me, the goal is to develop ourselves spiritually, to move closer to the source, closer to the God head, closer to the infinite intelligence. That's what it's all about. But it's about refining the spiritual qualities that we contain at our core, and that spark of God. It's bringing them into essence through our soul. That's what self-development spiritually is all about in my book. So hopefully that helps you, but definitely it's going to take time. We all go to the spirit world. Nobody does not go to the spirit world. And where we find ourselves in the spirit world will be a result of the spiritual development we've done to that point, both within this world and prior. Because most of us coming here are not new souls. We've had existence before. So hopefully that will help you. Okay, next question. So as I said earlier, if you're enjoying this, do hit the like button. If you enjoy my teachings, do subscribe to my channel. If you would like to get your question, the next one answered, you can do a donation through Super Chat, which is the little $ at the bottom of the screen. All donations are gratefully received. If you would like to donate, you can also donate through PayPal. However, I can't see your PayPal donation in real time, so that won't necessarily raise your question. But if you're enjoying what I do, if you enjoy my teaching, by all means, you can make a donation through my PayPal Me link at the very top of the chat box, a pinned link at the top of the chat box. Or if you're watching the replay, it will be a pinned comment, or you will also find it in the video description as well. Let me get on to the next question. Rain, how can I distinguish between when an image is symbolic or literal? For example, if I get a firefighter's ladder, is it because the spirit was always helpful, or because they were an actual firefighter? Simple. You set the rules. And what I mean by that is, how helpful are symbols? Symbols are a wonderful way of getting across to you information rapidly. It's a shortcut for conveying information. But if you cannot interpret that symbol, it's no longer a shortcut. So what I recommend everybody should do is to set up a symbol library with the spirit world. Now, a firefighter's ladder doesn't make sense to me. Just have a ladder if that's your symbol, unless they were a fireman. But if they're a fireman, what's their symbol for a fireman? Show me a fireman's hat, or show me a fire engine. Set it up so that you have a simple symbol that will give you what you're looking for as soon as possible. If you don't have a symbol library, then what you end up doing is trying to work out what symbols mean. And in that scenario, what I'd say is, I would ask Spirit not to give you symbols and to give you it literally, because otherwise symbols will bog you down and slow you down. When I was in my early stage of development, I didn't know what symbols meant. So I didn't like them. And I said, I don't want symbols. Just give it me normally. Give it me the hard way. And then over time, we can work out symbols, and then they'll help. And I do work with symbols, absolutely. But I know what the symbol means. I don't want symbols I don't know, because it's not going to help me. If you give me a symbol I don't know and I'm trying to work out, oh, does it mean that? Does it mean that? Does it mean something else? I'd just rather know. But if you are going to give me a symbol, I'd like it to be one of the ones that I have as well. So simply, if you have no symbol library set up with Spirit, and to set it up, you would move into blend, sitting in the power. You'd ask guides to draw close and blend with your guides. And then at the end of sitting in the power, you'd then say, I'd like this symbol to mean this symbol to mean that. And you're projecting the thoughts. I'm creating my library. You've not got to do it all in one go. You'll be there all day. But at the end of sitting, every time you can put a couple of symbols out there. These are symbols I'd like to mean this, that, or the other. And that will help you. But to feel what a symbol means, you've got to move into it psychically. You've got to psychically interpret it. You've got to feel into the energy to understand what it means. So if you haven't got a symbol library and you get something you don't know if it's literal or a symbol, feel into it. Is it literal? Is it a symbol? What does it mean? Where's it trying to take you? But it can be a bit hit and miss. Absolutely, I get that. So hopefully that technique may help you to set that symbol library up. Dominique, why do some mediums hit it off by announcing who exactly is coming through in relation to the sitters, and why do others start by describing personality and a sense of the type of relationship? So this is all about, if you talk about how do mediums get relationship. And the problem you have is not every spirit gives the relationship. And if you're receiving it clairsentiently, then you have a feeling of the relationship. But what's the difference between a feeling of dad, a feeling of stepdad, and a feeling of father-in-law who's like a dad to you? They all bring a fatherly feel. So I hope you can see that. So what I'd be looking there for is, was this person there throughout this person's life? Yes. And more likely to be dad. Were they there later in life? It came through marriage, it's father-in-law. Were they there maybe they weren't there the whole time, but they kind of came in the person's childhood. In that case, it could be a stepfather, but it could be a stepfather present for the whole life as well. So there's multiple different ways we get it. Now, one way you can get relationships is has to be shown the relationship of one of your own loved ones. But it means you've got to have one of your own loved ones in that you have the same. For example, if you gave me, if mum's brother was coming forward, well, my mum didn't have a brother. She was an only child. So I can't get that from my library of loved ones. They're not there. That's the gap, if you like. It doesn't exist. So it will depend upon the size of your family and whether you have anybody that can fit that bill. Absolutely. So, yeah. So some people hear it. Some people sense it. Some people just know it. And if you know it, you can say it and it should be right. Absolutely. But if you're feeling it, there's error bars. And if, how do you see it? You're seeing a link to a loved one. If you've ever done a family tree, you can kind of move up the family tree as well. I'm going up a level. Okay, so it's on the mother-father level, but I'm going to the side. Uncle. Okay, uncle where? Which side of the family? Father or mother? Father. This is an uncle on your dad's side. That's how you may do it. But sometimes you get uncles who are not actually family. So you're going up to their level, but you don't actually feel it's connected. Okay, you called him uncle, but he wasn't a real uncle. Yes. So there's a variety of techniques and tricks you can use to get relationship. But you've got to try them all out for yourself and see what works for you. And remember, your mediumship will always change. Some will work initially, and others may work later down the line. So remember to keep trying. Always keep trying. Now, I can see as well that Rain, you've made a super chat donation. That's really gratefully received. Thank you very much. And you thanked me for the answer. Wonderful. So is there another question to go with that? No, I don't think there is. But I'm glad the answer was helpful for you. Wonderful. Okay, let me have a look with the next questions. Okay, Tyrone. You've had an Asian hunter come to you as a guide. Should you sit with a guide when blending with spirit? I've written some phrases down, stuff from him. Any thoughts on this? So when you're sitting in the power, most of the time you shouldn't be trying to blend with a guide. But you can use some of your sitting for spirit to actually blend with guides, to get to know them as well. But I wouldn't make it every single time. Maybe, I don't know, once a week, you can ask a guide to come forward and blend with you. And try and feel into their energy and get to know them. But whenever we sit, it gives those who work with us from spirit an opportunity to come and blend with us. Now, I don't know what my guides are, even though I work as a trance medium and I've spoken many times through trance. I don't know what they are. And I don't actually really need to know. It doesn't matter. So if you don't know what your guides are, if you don't know whether they're a Native American or whether they're a Buddhist monk or whether they're a nun, an Egyptian, it doesn't matter. Be careful as well letting anybody give you your guides, because I've been given everything from Aborigine to Zulu and the majority is wrong. Often guides are evolved spiritual beings. They may present themselves in a certain guise to meet our needs. They may present themselves in a certain guise to reflect what their work is to do with us. But it's not essential. That's the important part to recognize. So get to know your guides, but do that by getting to blend with their energy, getting to feel their energy, getting to recognize their energy. We don't necessarily need communication from them, but we need to know their energy, and we can get a bit of communication from them. A very good tool for getting that is inspirational writing or inspirational speaking, where you'd sit by yourself and you'd talk into a dictaphone. I can't use a dictaphone because I'm recording on it, so so that's possible. I highly recommend inspirational writing. That's a good, powerful tool for doing it. But again, remember, it's the same rules apply with communicating with our own loved ones. It's our subconscious needs and desires can overlay it very, very strongly. And when we're doing trance, the goal is to get us out of the way and to get it all being spirit. But it's very, very hard. There's always a small part of us in the mix. Something that was referred to by Frederick Myers, the great gentleman who researched so much with cycle research. He called it the stained glass effect, that no communication through a medium is truly devoid of a medium's own consciousness. It's what we call the stained glass effect, and we seek to minimize it to the very little as possible, but it does creep in. And if we're tired when we're doing trance or we're coming to the end and the power's dropping, more of us can start creeping in. So that's important to recognize. I digress. But yeah, get to know your guide, and it's wonderful that you are. Excellent. Ed, thank you, Martin. You're very welcome. Google me JMS. I don't know what your real name is, but we'll go with Google me. Sometimes I get deceptively info that's actually the opposite. Example, I say the communicator smoked, yet turns out the person hated smoking. Why is this, and how can we know? So basically what you need to do with that is you need to feel into it. Just because you get smoking does not necessarily mean they smoked. So what I do is I feel, if I get smoking, if I smell cigarette smoke, okay, were you a smoker? Do I feel them smoking? And if I do, how many? 20 a day, 30 a day, 40 a day? Was there a haze around them? Or do I feel they hate smoking? So you have to push beyond the smoking. So we have to feel into it. We have to blend and push into it with them. So sometimes we always say, give what you get, but that can be limiting. What we really want to say is give what you get as you're pushing into it. So what I would say is, I'm getting smoking. Let me push into that and see what it's about. Were you a smoker? No, you weren't a smoker. You hated smoking. Okay. And there'd be rows about loved ones around them smoking. Okay, got a man here. And this man, he hated smoking. He shows me smoking, but he actually hated it. So that's what you have to do. You have to push into it. Sometimes we get something and it can go either way. The only way you know whether it's either way is by pushing into it, feeling into it, sensing it. And that comes with experience as well. If you're a beginner, it's harder to do. Absolutely. I see that. I get that. So yeah. Julia, of course it's you, Julia. I can see your name at the end. So yeah, so I hope that helps you. It's not an easy answer. With experience is the answer. So hopefully that helps. Holly, you experience it more as a feeling that's associated with a colour, always clairvoyantly. Yeah, that tends to be what I get as well. So we're alike. Wonderful. Moni, I don't necessarily see the auric colour, but feel I sense it. Yeah, and that's the thing. Now, I do have a CD called A Rainbow Journey. And within that, you get to sit in different colours. You imagine sitting in a room that's a certain colour. Green, blue, red, orange, brown, silver, gold, pink, whatever. With a stack of colours to go through. And what you do is you sense and feel the colour. You experience the colour in all ways. And then when you're feeling into the aura, it helps you to translate it because of that experience sitting in it. So I highly recommend it. What you can do is you can imagine sitting in a blue. Now, it can be like a vibrant turquoise blue. Second time, it can be like a French blue. Next time, it can be a cobalt blue. You can actually repeat it multiple times, working with different shades and energies of color. Because the color of a very earthy, deep brown is different from the color of a very dark brown, almost black, is different from the color of a tan brown. So you need to experience these things to understand it. So I highly recommend that you check out that meditation, Rainbow Journey, available as an MP3, £11, or a CD for 14 plus shipping. So I quite enjoy doing that. And I'm of the firm believer that we need to have our own understanding of colour. Don't just say red means that, orange means that, yellow means that. No, sit within it and see actually if it's true for you. Work with it. So I do feel we should get our own personal meanings for colours. That's my sense anyway. So check those out if you're interested. Anastasia, when you meet someone, are you able to tell if they are mediums, i.e. have mediumship ability? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I have a video that was released relatively recently, Can Anyone Be a Medium? And in that I talk about the mediumship potential within people, how there can be a near surface potential and how there's a deeper potential. The deeper potential has to be unfolded from within. The near surface potential is there on the surface and we can sense it. So someone can come to me for a reading, I can sense they have a near surface potential for mediumship and say, yes, you have an ability for mediumship. I can sense it with you. And it's probably already manifested in certain ways. You may have already experienced spirits in many different ways, yes. But just because someone doesn't have a near surface potential, it doesn't mean it's not there. I've had many people come through courses that I've done, and I thought to myself, I'm not sure they've got it. I'm not sure the ability's there with them. It doesn't seem to be working in the early stages. But over time, as they unfold it and create the conditions to unfold it, they go on to become excellent mediums, go on to become platform mediums. But in the initial stages, I never saw it. So never let anybody tell you you cannot be a medium, because no matter how developed a medium is, they can't see the deepest potentials within you. And when you create the right conditions and it's the right timing, that can unfold. So I have been told by a well-known medium that I will never be a medium. You know, don't give up your day job, you will never be a medium. And here I am a medium. So don't allow what anyone tells you to deflect you from the path. If you want to develop mediumship, you go develop mediumship. I believe anybody can develop mediumship to a standard where they can do links that will help others. Will they be professional medium working on platforms, doing sit-ins all the time? Possibly not, no. But they can develop to a point where they can do it occasionally to help people. But it takes time, effort, discipline, motivation, all those things. So, you know, if you're motivated to do it and you want to give it the time to do it, like, you know, there's loads of things in life I'd love to do. But a few of them I'll never do because I'm not motivated enough to give them my time, my effort, my dedication, my discipline. So they're not going to happen. They'll have to wait for another life. But there are other things I want to do and will do when I give it that motivation, that effort, that discipline. Same with mediumship. So hopefully that helps. So I hope that you're enjoying it so far. If you are, do hit the like button. If you like my channel, do subscribe to the channel. And if you would like to make a donation, you can do that through the super chat button at the bottom. You can do it through PayPal Me. There's a link pinned to the top, and there's also a link in the description as well. All donations are gratefully received. I do these classes for free to help people and to support my programs, my courses, my classes. Do check out my courses, classes, study program. Let me quickly show you what I offer. I do offer a series of videos, 24 videos. That's a good starting point for many. If you want to go deeper, I offer a study program, which goes, my flagship study program, goes through mediumship in a very structured format and drills very deep. Each module is 10 classes and there's 4 modules in total. The fourth one, special module, that one is optional. Each module is £120. I also offer a number of courses costing £65, which go into a little bit more detail in certain areas, for example, confidence or great mediums of the past or spiritual self-development or sitting for spirit and meditation. They drill into deeper detail. The fundamentals of mediumship does parallel the mediumship class videos and it does parallel the study program. So you don't need that one if you want to follow those courses. Getting Better Evidence does go into a lot more detail, as does Better Private Readings and the current one. The current one is Better Platform Mediumship. So hopefully that gives you a brief overview of what I offer. If you want to support me, by all means, check them out, and hopefully you'll find them useful. Okay, let's get on to the next question. Okay, let me. Others said my dad came through, also grandparents, but not to me, but felt strokes, which they then confirmed they are around me, caring for me. Now, your loved ones are always around you. Your loved ones do care for you. We can feel our loved ones draw close, but the point is you cannot link with them the same way that you can link with other people's loved ones. If you like, it's like the pressure relief valve, the emergency valve of mediumship, that if you were able to link to your loved ones the way you could link to everyone else's loved ones, you'd do it all the time. You'd be 24/7 talking to your mum, your dad, your grandparents, whoever you've got in spirit, your brother, your sister. And so if you've lost a child, you'd be talking to your child all the time. So I believe that it can't happen, so that we don't do that. Because mediumship is a gift to be used in service to others. That's my firm belief. And that's why, yes, you can feel them close. Yes, they're around you. I'm not saying that they're not around you. If I think of my mum, I can feel her draw close to me. I can feel her presence. But I cannot really have a communication with her because that my own mind will colour it way, way, way too much. So again, I would say if you develop mediumship, then yes, you'll be able to feel your loved ones more because you're developing clairsentience. Absolutely. Feeling. But don't develop it just for that reason. I would say develop it to help other people. Develop it to be of service. And that will help it develop all the more. So hopefully that will help. Lily, thank you so much. Makes perfect sense. Good. Amy, when sitting in the power, is it common for my breathing to slow down so much to almost feel like I have to internally remind myself to take a breath? So when sitting in the power, then yes, our breathing generally slows down. When you're doing deep meditation, your breathing can slow to a great deal. You'll never stop breathing generally because within your body is not designed to do that. But I can slow my breathing down quite a lot. My breath rate does go very, very low in meditation. And I'm also a trained hypnotherapist. And when I work with clients doing hypnotherapy, I always used to watch their respiration rate to see how deep into the state of hypnosis they're going. And it's no different really with meditation. So I'm watching somebody, I'm sitting there breathing going really, really fast, and I can count their respiration rate per minute, and I know they're not relaxed. So we in hypnotherapy, we try and pace with our talking to slow their breathing down. We're trying to slow them down. But not, some people can't get there, others can. If you're very lucky and you can get into that state, that's wonderful. So if you can do that, that's brilliant. But if you can't, don't worry. We're all different. We all have to go with how it works for us. Okay, so hopefully that does make sense. But don't worry about it. You'll never, unless you're deliberately trying to hold your breath, you won't have a problem. And what happens is when you focus on your breathing too much, you then start I need to breathe more. And you can start hyperventilating to a degree if you kind of focus on your breathing. I always find exercises that deliberately involve slowing the breathing down or breathing like a 7-Eleven breathing to certain timings. Breathe out for 11 seconds and then breathe in for 7. Or breathe out for 7 and breathe in for 5. When you're doing those, I always find that you want to take an extra breath. It's like it's unnatural to try and muck about with your breathing. But as you relax and calm and release your energy, your breathing just naturally deepens. Like when you go to sleep, your breathing naturally deepens. So don't try and focus too much upon slowing it down. Let it happen naturally. That's what I would say. Okay. Next question. Anastasia, that was an amazing description you did about the spiritual development of the soul. You're very welcome. That concept on the spiritual development of the soul, that's basically what my guides teach. At some stage, we need to get it transcribed and some of that put into a book because it's quite fascinating. So if you enjoyed that, I'm sure you'd enjoy the book as well. Brian, I believe I was born empath. Yeah, in the UK, we don't really use the term empath a huge amount. All we're saying with an empath is we're highly sensitive and we can tune in clairsentiently. I never ever would refer to myself as an empath. But of course, I have the ability to do mediumship and tune into someone psychically as well, and to feel into their energy, to feel what they're feeling. So yeah, highly sensitive people. Tyrone, I've written many symbols down: white suit for a wedding, black suit for a funeral, black palms of hands for a mechanic, to name a few. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and sometimes spirit will give you something and you think that makes a great symbol. You know, for me, if it's a coal man, generally I see them black all over with the little pink rings around their eyes if they work down a mine or worked with coal. But you know, we all have to set up our own library. But having a library makes it quicker. Now, you can also work with animals as well. You know, you can see different animals. Different animals mean different things. If you see a bull, they had a temper, red rag to a bull. If you see a donkey, they were stubborn as a mule. You see, so you're just taking the characteristics of animals and applying them. And if you like, it's a quick way of getting things, you know, bull in a china shop. So yeah, there's ways and means of doing it with all sorts of things. But play with it. Do what works for you. Do what excites your mind, your brain. Go for it. Good. Brian, are these orbs that I see, they're guides? They totally ignore the fact I'm observing them via my third eye. So anybody who knows me and knows about orbs, I don't get carried away with orbs whatsoever. I am a keen photographer. I grab a camera, put it here, I'm using it. So I'm a keen photographer. With digital cameras, they have a propensity for generating orbs. So, and for me, orbs don't mean nothing. For me, orbs are bits of dust generally. Now, occasionally, a big orb can appear, but if there's going to be an orb there, I want it to make sense. I want it to do things. So I take a photograph and a big orb appears, and that doesn't look like a piece of dust. That's quite interesting. I say, if that's spirit, okay. Can you go to the left-hand side? Can you go above such and such's head? And if they do that, I believe it's spirit. If it's not, if it's just random, then you'll never get me to say orbs are spirit. You know, I've got a background in science, a degree in physics. I'm not easily led, and if I can explain it away scientifically, I will. You know, some people say, oh, I've got a spirit in my house. You go around there, you walk in the room, and you say, why do you think there's a spirit? Oh, it's so cold in here. And you go, okay, you've got badly fitting windows. The radiator needs bleeding. It's not working well. You've got a flat roof. And this room has got 3 corners exposed to the air. No wonder this room is way colder than anywhere else in the house. It's not spirit. It's just science. We can rationally explain it away. So if I can explain it away, I will. So, you know, your guides will not appear to you as orbs. Your guides will appear to you as the energy that they are. They will blend with you. Don't try and look for your guides in orbs. Don't try and look for your guides in any other way. Sit with spirit, blend with them. Invite your guides to blend with you and feel their energy. Or do what I said earlier on about the inspirational speaking, inspirational writing as a tool for learning to work with your guides. If you are interested in doing that, I have a video called Working with Inspiration, one of my videos. And it's one of the special topic series there, working with spirit inspiration, and I explain the process of doing that within that class there, if that interests you, if that's something you'd like to do. Okay, next one. Holly, that's exactly how I feel a relationship, like a pinpoint on a family tree. Yeah, if you've ever done a family tree, then you can use it. I've done my own family tree, and I find that spirit can show me that quite easily because it's knowledge within my mind. Spirit will use whatever knowledge you've got within your mind. Whatever your interests are, spirit will use. Whatever knowledge you've gained, spirit will use. So the more knowledge you have, the better. If you're interested in your own family tree, know that spirit will be able to use it. Good. Stacey, I don't know what guides are working with me. Is that okay? Yeah, absolutely. As I said earlier on, I don't necessarily know. I don't know how many guides I've got. I don't know any of my guides' names. I don't know whether any of my guides are Native Americans, nuns, what have you. But you may say, well, how can you be a trance medium and not know all of that? It's simple, because guides say they don't want to give a name. A name is too limiting. You know, they are more than the name. If I need to give them a name, they'll accept any name I give them. That's what they told me. They'll take on board any name I want to give them. One of my guides does come with a name, but the rest don't. I don't always know who's communicating because some of them have similar energies. So I don't know how many there are. I believe we all have a few guides and even more helpers. And when we do trance, I know some mediums doing trance, great mediums of the past, they had 15, 20 guides, Sainted Moses. You had loads, absolute loads. So, you know, there are no limitations here. Remember, whoever can work with you, who wants to work with you, may be able to do so. But we generally have a few main guides. And if you get to know your main guide, that's a good starting point. If you can get to know 2 or 3 guides, that's a good starting point. But the way you get to know the guides, as I said, is through using Sitting in the Power. And at the end of that, you blend with them, or you deliberately use a Sit in the Power to blend with them and take it to the next level. In fact, in my meditation and Sitting for Spirit course, the meditation and Sitting for Spirit, there is a meditation in there, how to meet your guides. It's exactly that. It's an adapted Sitting in the Power where I take you to blend and meet your guides and work with them. So if you're interested, do check out that course and you can get to meet your guides there as well. So hopefully that will be helpful, but just give it time. I don't think there's ever any rush to get to know who our guides are. And what I find is people tell you things, oh, you've got a Buddhist monk, or you've got a Native American. I was told multiple times I've got a Native American. I believed for a long time I had a Native American. But then what happened was over time, I never actually had any evidence to back it up. And when I was doing trance, no one ever came through in the guise or sense of a Native American. So that led me to believe that I don't have a Native American, because actually they would have shown themselves by now. So what happens is people tell us things, we take it as gospel, only to find out down the line that that's not the case. So I'd say find out for yourself and take anything anybody tells you, mediums included, well-known mediums included, with a pinch of salt. That's what I would say. But don't be in a rush to find out. And you know, it doesn't actually matter. That's the other thing. It doesn't actually matter. That's the important thing to recognize. So whether you know who your guides are or their names, it doesn't matter. They'll still work with you regardless. It won't impact your work with spirit. Know that and understand that. And hopefully that helps. Now, Dominique, I can see you've done a super chat, so thank you very much for that. That is greatly appreciated. Is there a question to go with it? I can't see one, but if there is, I will get onto it. Okay, let me come back to where we are. So I hope you're enjoying it so far. Remember, if you are, do hit the chat button. And if you're watching this on a replay, do leave me a message at the end and let me know how much you enjoyed it. Right, where was I up to? This problem with scrolling right down. Okay, next question. Omar. As souls, are we all connected, or are we just one organism? How can I use this principle of being connected in my mediumship? So I believe that we're all connected. I believe that because we all contain a spark of the divine, we are all connected in different ways. But some people you'll resonate with more than others. Some people, if you like, they're on your wavelength, or maybe they are on your level, your spiritual level of attainment, and you'll resonate with them more. But this earth is a melting point where people from all different degrees of spiritual development come. Some people are at the lower rungs of development and other people are at the high rungs of development. And those at the higher rungs should be helping lift up those at the lower rungs. It's all about cooperation. It's all about working together in service. If you understand nothing else of what I've said today, understand that we're all here to help other people. And service is the coin of the spirit. Service is what will help us as a soul develop spiritually. In my earlier answer for Anastasia, I talked about how the evolvement and progression of the soul. So again, that's the whole point. By helping others, it helps us. So we're all connected, but does that help you in mediumship? Not necessarily, because no. So it helps you if you like with my spiritualist beliefs, that we're all one brotherhood, sisterhood of men and women. One we call the brotherhood of man, but if you like, it's the we're siblings, brothers and sisters. We're all the same. We're all connected. You know, if you hurt somebody, you ultimately hurt all. You hurt yourself. So if we can live from that principle, that's wonderful. And for some people, that will help them connect more in spirit. Even if there's somebody I don't like, even if there's someone whose energy is not a good fit for me, I will still work with them because we're all one. So yes, we can use it in that way. You know, some people have an energy, you know, I've had people who say really rude things about me and who are not necessarily nice, but they're there in the audience and I've given them a link from a message from their loved one. And I know that they've not been particularly kind about me, but it doesn't stop me working from a place of love, because we have to transition above the petty egotistical feelings. We have to move to our soul where we are that spiritual being and work. So remember that mediumship functions by we connect through our soul to get to spirit. So we want the soul qualities to manifest. That's what we want. So hopefully that will help. Stacey, you've read my mind. Thanks for that answer. Wonderful. Good. Amy, is paranormal work okay to do, or is it disrespectful? So I personally don't do paranormal work, but it's not that it's disrespectful. It's just not something that excites me or interests me, to be frank. You know, I know a lot of people who do paranormal investigations, and if that's your bag, that's great. But for me, there's a lot of stuff goes on. I was once invited to be the medium on a paranormal investigation and on various ghost hunts. And I said, well, what happens if I don't pick up any spirits? And they said, oh, you've got to. And I said, yeah, but what happens if I don't? If there's nobody there and there's nothing to pick up, what happens? And they said, you've got to make it up. And I said, in that case, I'm not doing it. I don't make anything up. There's multiple TV programs in the UK that have been ghost hunt type TV programs where people have lied. People have faked it. There's a degree of fake mediumship takes place in a lot of it. And I don't like that personally. So that's one of the reasons as well. It's never particularly appealed to me, because it's just not, it doesn't sit well with me. I would much rather use my mediumship abilities to connect loved ones and reunite them and create healing than as a form of entertainment. So it doesn't fit for me necessarily. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with it as such if you come at it from the right perspective. Some very good mediums. For example, I know Gordon Smith worked for a time as well on one of the UK TV programs doing paranormal investigations. And Gordon Smith is an excellent medium. But he did it from the point of view of doing it with respect and doing it from the right approach. And that's the way you have to do it. So there's nothing wrong with it if that's what interests you. It's just not my cup of tea personally. We've all got to go with what excites and interests us individually. So Sheila, I can see you've made a super chat donation. That's greatly appreciated. No question, just grateful for the class. Wonderful. Thank you. That's much appreciated. Okay, where did I get to? I gotta scroll back up again. Okay. So I'm aiming to finish at 8:30. If you do want to get your question answered, I'm working through them in order, but if you're some way down the list, if you want to make a super chat donation, I will make it the next class, the next question I answer. If you want to make a donation through PayPal me, you're more than welcome, then that is greatly appreciated too. Okay, next question. A great clinic. Thank you for your time doing this, learning a lot already. Wonderful. Glad it's helping you. Mag, how do you get the specific evidence of the sitter? Some teachers say not to control the communication and surrender. When I do, I feel like what I have given is very generic evidence. So I go into this in a great detail in my course on getting better evidence. So if you want the real detail, that's where you're going to find it. But basically, when you're beginning, you've got to ask questions of spirit, because the thing is, if you're going to surrender, you've got to have a fabulous blend with spirit. And that really is intermediate level. It's not beginner level. Beginners very rarely have the fabulous blend. Intermediate to advanced can. Well, it's not every link. So I don't blend and surrender on necessarily every link, because some links are not easy. I talk about the radio analogy. If you imagine that each spirit communicator is at a set frequency, And we are all mediums. We're like a radio that can receive certain bands. Then I'd say a beginner's got a more limited range, an intermediate's got a bit of a bigger range, and an advanced medium has got a wider range still. But we're still not always able to get every spirit as well as we would like. If someone's at the end of my range, it's hard to work with them. I can't blend and surrender easily. I almost end up having to revert to what I call a 20 questions approach. Who are you? What's the relationship? How did you pass? And because the information just doesn't flow in because I haven't got that close blend. And that's maybe what you're experiencing. If it's not a tight blend, it's hard to get it. And you're just getting generics. It's not really, really strong. So it's a question of going through the process. But in the beginning, you've got to do more questions and answers to get what you need. And then over time, we move into what I call a loose framework, whereby we want certain aspects of information, but we don't mind what order spirit gives it in. We let them have the freedom to work how they want. But we kind of got it set up within our minds what we want. I want your personality. I want some factual evidence. I'd like some emotional evidence. I'd like this. I'd like that. That's kind of what I call a loose framework. And then ultimately, the goal is to blend and surrender and just let them bring you what they need to bring you, knowing that spirit know they've got to give you evidence. They've got to give you good evidence to get recognized. But again, if you're at beginner stage and you're not capable of receiving that fabulous evidence, it's going to be harder. Maybe they are projecting ultra specific information to you, but because of the state of where you are with your development, if it's a more beginner level, you won't receive the information and get the detail within it. A more experienced medium can push into it and keep pushing to get the detail. A less experienced medium will just get the big picture feel. So it comes with timing, but it also comes with understanding. So I highly recommend getting better evidence as a course to understand the ways and means we get evidence, and there's a lot, and to understand that how we progress, we change how we work to fit. So I hope that kind of gives you a clue. That's the short answer. The long one's in getting better evidence. Julia, thanks for the answer. The opposites. You're very welcome. That was a fantastic answer about mediumship potential. Glad you enjoyed it. As I say that, it's part of Can Anyone Be a Medium? Check it out. It's a video I did for my YouTube channel not long ago, about a month ago or so. And I expect it to do reasonably well, and it didn't do well at all. It didn't get very many views at all. So go check it out. YouTube has changed their algorithm and things don't get suggested as much. It's always quite stressful when they do that because you produce a video hoping it will reach people and it doesn't. Yeah, my aim is that if my videos can reach as many people as possible, that's wonderful. That's my goal. That's my aim. That's what I'd like, to help raise the standards of mediumship. Holly, did you go through any blocks while developing mediumship? And if so, how did you handle getting back into it? I think all of us will face challenges on the journey of mediumship. And I will reference you as well the video I did on is your mediumship, reasons why your mediumship feels like it's getting worse. It's not necessarily getting worse, but we sense it is. It feels like it's taking a step back. It feels like it's no longer working. But our mediumship is constantly changing. And if we don't adapt and change, we hit challenges, blocks, hurdles. I got into spiritualism and mediumship, and everything really happened dramatically for me. It progressed at a very rapid rate. And then all of a sudden, one day I woke up and just didn't believe it. Huge block, huge block. I'm in development circles. I'm developing. I'd had some fantastic evidence from my mum. It was my mum's passing that had got me into spiritualism and mediumship. And things had rapidly developed. And within about 6 months, I woke up one day and just didn't believe any of it. I had to go out and get my evidence again. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a medium. And I actually had to drill deep and look for it. And go out, and I had readings with many different mediums. And it wasn't until the fact I went to the Arthur Findlay College for an open day and had a reading there that I got the real evidence I needed to get it all back in track, because I kind of thought I was vulnerable. I thought I'd lost my mum. I was in a very vulnerable position. I probably would believe a lot of things, and maybe I'd believed it all. So I wanted some ultra specific evidence to convince me of the truth and the reality of it. And I got that. I did get that. But we all go through trials and tribulations on this journey. If this journey was easy, it wouldn't be worth having. And I believe everyone encounters it where your mediumship stops working, or where you have a crisis of confidence, or the belief starts, you have to challenge your beliefs, and it's like, oh, maybe I don't believe this anymore. That happens to a lot of people. So absolutely, it's going to happen. So just work with it, go with it, adapt to change, and yeah, be adaptable. Absolutely, be flexible. And I have a talk on how to adapt and cope with change, so you can check that out as well. Cheryl, I'm on module 1. I'm really enjoying it. Highly recommended. Thank you, Cheryl. Glad you're enjoying it. There's a lot of detail in those classes. Each module's about 10 classes. It's 5 core videos, 5 support and tutorials. On average, each class is 2 to 2.5 hours. So there's a lot of content in there. As many of you know, if I know it, I'll teach it. I don't hold it back. So you get a lot in it. Rain, my last practice reading was full of specific evidence, yet the one before was mostly essence of personality and not enough evidence in my opinion. Does consistency come with time and experience? All mediums have mediumship is variable by nature. All mediums have variable readings. Some can be great, some not so good. And consistency, what happens is it's not that you get more consistent with effort, it's the quality moves. So my best readings are good, and my worst readings are still reasonable. But if I was over here, my best readings are only average and my worst readings are truly atrocious. And so if you like, we move along with experience, we get better, so that we get a consistency with our work, that it works more often, and we start to get more evidence, better evidence, as we work for longer, generally, provided you adapt to the changes. I take you back to 7 reasons why your mediumship is getting worse, and you have to adapt. If you don't adapt and you stay where you are and you expect mediumship to always work the way it always did, you'll stagnate or even get worse. But when you adapt and change things, you'll be fine. For example, I used to be able to get dates bang on. I'd see a calendar in my mind, I'd be taken to the exact date, and I'd say it and say, oh wow, that's his birthday. And, you'd be pretty pleased with that. Yeah, that's nice. The little ego starts to say, oh, you're good, you. And then it all goes. Gone. Didn't get it for a while. I try and use the same methodology. Try and give dates. Couldn't do it whatsoever. Hopeless at dates. And what it is at that point in time, dates were really working for me. Later on, they weren't. And then you come back again to a time where it starts to come together again, and dates do begin to work again. But what I'm saying is, it's always adaptable. Sometimes names would work for me, sometimes they wouldn't. Sometimes dates work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes direction works, sometimes it don't. So I adapt to where I'm at this moment in time. I adapt to what works here and now. If I do a dem and certain things are working well, I'll play to those strengths at that time. And certain things are not working well over a series of demonstrations or readings. It's like, okay, that's not working for me so well at the moment. So I won't try too much there. I'll work with what I know does work. And so we got to adapt, got to be flexible. That's what I'm trying to say. Anastasia, highly recommend Getting Better Evidence course. Fantastic course, jam-packed. Yeah, it's got a lot in it. That's one of my favourite courses I've done. A lot in there. Amy, loving your study program module. So pragmatic and concise in your teaching. Hey, I couldn't have taken these live. I think it'd be so much fun in live classes. Yeah, the problem I have is that I tend to run classes once and then do them to my best ability and record them and make the recordings available. That's my modus operandi, if you like, my way of working. And if you said to me, go back and do this course tomorrow, or, you did the Confident Medium a while ago, can you do it because I'd like to be in the class live? The chances are you'd not get it as good now as then. For the reason being is that when I was doing it, I go deep into it. It becomes, I spend a week working on each class. Whereas now all I do is open the presentation, get my notes out, refresh my memory. But what I'd built up over the course of a week planning would not come into the class. And the class would, if you like, it would still have reasonable content, but it wouldn't be as strong as the original class. And that's why I don't repeat classes. And plus also, I try and keep my costs reasonable. But to do that, it involves getting a number of people to be in the classroom. If I repeat it, say, get Confident Medium now, there may not be enough people to make it viable. So that's the whole point. So, but I having looked at them myself, I don't think you actually lose anything with the replay other than me being in the room and your ability to ask me a question at the end. But the vast majority of my courses anyway, the I'd say a good 90% of it is the presentation, which is fixed. It's only the very end that people can ask questions. But yeah, but do check out the courses. As I'll just remind you, I have a whole bunch of pre-recorded courses. Or you can see them on the screen now. We won't go through them all. But you've also got the study program, which was 20 core videos supported by 20 tutorials. Highly recommend them. There's also 24 videos that the study program is based on. There's a few that don't appear in the study program, such as emotions in mediumship, psychometry, color, and tools for development. Tools for development looks at journaling and also an annual review process that we can build in, and also using powerful questions to identify what should be the next stage in our development. Okay, back to the questions. What's next? Tyro, anytime I sit in the power, within minutes I'll feel someone link arms with me or at my left shoulder, but I've no sitters. I'll see their face in my mind. Is this just becoming more sensitive? Well, when we sit in the power and we feel something, that can be what I call a calling card of a guide or helper. For example, when I used to sit for spirit, I'd feel like there was a hand upon my shoulder. And that was my sign that I was blended with the spirit world. If you like, it's a calling card to let me know I've achieved that state of blending and attunement with spirit. It may not have been necessarily any specific guide. It's just to let me know I'd reached that level. I don't get it anymore. It's gone. It's no longer needed. So again, these things can be transitory in our development. They can be there for a few years and then go again. But you've got to really work out what it means for you. That's the key thing as well. You've got to work out what it means for you. But the more we become sensitive, the more we feel. But when you're sitting in the power, you should be not looking for a spirit communicator, for a sitter. So it should not be a spirit communicator. It's unlikely to be a spirit communicator, because think about it. Why would a spirit communicator come forward if their loved one's not in front of you and there's no mechanism for you to get a message across to them? Remember, that's so how to practice mediumship. I go through all of that. You've got to have the sitter in front of you. It's absolutely key. No point trying to do mediumship unless you've got someone who you can check your evidence with. That's important. Dominique, I too feel as if I forget to continue breathing when sitting in the power. Yeah, it's common, but you don't forget. What it is you're not forgetting to breathe. It's just that the breathing becomes shallow and different, so that we wonder, is it there? But just trust that it will be fine. Rain, when is your book coming out? So I'm hoping to have the book out by the end of this year. I'm going to be doing less courses this year because I really need to knuckle down and focus on this book and make it happen. Brian, does your blood pressure go up when you connect with spirit? Now, the thing about testing mediumship, I've got a scientific mind. Some people tell me, oh, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, your blood sugar goes up or down. Great, I say, let's test it. So I get mediums, we do courses, classes, we do experiments, and we've done blood sugar readings, we've done oxygen saturation to see if your SATs, your O2 SATs drop because you're not breathing so much, and they don't, you're fine. That's why I say with your breathing, don't worry about it. Even people in the trance state, doesn't make a difference. Your blood sugar drops, but that's natural after you've eaten. The cycle drops, so it does drop a bit, but I wouldn't say it drops any more than normal. I've never tested anybody doing physical mediumship. I'd say that's one area where your blood sugar could drop more because the body is using it's using the physical essence to create the ectoplasm. So that, yeah, I accept that could be the case there. Blood pressure, does it go up? No, not in my experience, no. But again, it depends on the kind of mediumship you're doing. If you're walking backwards across a platform, really, really excited, your heart rate's going to go up. Absolutely, because you're moving around a lot. If you're really, really excited and you're moving around a lot, could your blood pressure go up? It probably could, yes. But if you're sat in a chair just doing a reading, it wouldn't. Spirit coming close to you generally wouldn't make your blood pressure go up. But when spirit blend with us in trance, what we see is the heart rate does go up, actually. The blood pressure doesn't particularly, but the heart rate does, is what I've noticed. But again, each medium could be different. Your mileage may vary. So how it works for you may not be how it works for me, may not be for those mediums who allowed me to let them work on them as guinea pigs. So yeah, but I'm fascinated by the science of it as well. So yeah, other people maybe listening to this saying, well, I've done tests and blood pressure did go up. So if you are, let me know. I'd be interested to know. Anastasia, is there a written code of conduct anywhere for mediums? Indeed there is. If you go to my website, martintwycross.com, and there is a post on there. Should be a little search box somewhere on it, on the site, on the page, on the side, I think. If you type in code of conduct, it should bring the post up. Or you can just, if you go to the free teaching section, articles, that should bring it up there as well. So there's a free code of conduct there that I've written, and it's accessible to everybody. So also, if you do my Better Private Readings course or Better Platform Mediumship course, I also send it out to everyone on that course as well. You get it as well. But it's free anyway. You've not got to do a course to get it. So just go to my website and download it. It's a simple answer. Amy, your explanation of my question is great. I was just amazed that the anxious person I am could get that slowed down in the exercise. Now I'm happy to know I'm in it. Good. That's great. Nana Chan, wonderful class. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Nana Chan, when I do sit in the power, I feel I can do better lying down than sitting straight. I know it's not a right way, but it works for me. Is it okay to continue this posture? I would say no. The only time I'm happy with people laying down is if there's a genuine reason you cannot sit up straight. And for me, it's important to have the spine in alignment in almost like an upright chair. I used to have a hypnotherapy couch which sloped, and I used to try and sit in the power on that, and I couldn't at all because my back was curved. I'd put cushions on it and bring my back up, and then I could do it. So I know the importance of having the spine in alignment, the energy centers in alignment. Yes, I think that's important. But also, the biggest problem you have is laying down is conditioned to relax, conditioned to sleep. When we're sitting in the power, we're not actually relaxed at all, letting go. We're actually in a state of concentrated attunement. So I'm blending with spirit, I'm holding the link with spirit, I'm concentrating, use my breath to maintain the link. If I just relax, it will just collapse and go. So the majority of people I find lying down, they're not doing sit in the power well in my experience. So I don't recommend it that way. I recommend you do sit in the power when you're most alert. And I recommend you do it in an upright chair, comfortable chair, and you don't cross anything like your legs or your hands, all of those things. I don't recommend crossing anything. But check out how to do sit in the power, class 2. And that's the one I will recommend. And the common beginner problem is that people want to do it laying down. People tell me I fall asleep when I'm sitting in the power. But when you do it at night before bed, laying down, not a good time to do it. I've tried to do sit in the power in the bath. I can sort of do it in a way, but not properly. I've tried doing it laying down. I can sort of do it in a way, but not properly. So from my experience, the experience of all the other tutors I know, and the experience of having taught sitting in the power to many hundreds of students over the years, my advice would be do it in a chair. Do it in the upright position. It'd be better. You may be the 1% or the 1 in 10,000 that can do it lying down. I don't know. That may be the case, but I don't know. So if you can, great. But if you can't, you're normal. So for me, I do recommend that people do it in an upright chair, in an upright position, eyes closed, just gently relax and go for it. And of course, I have a sit in the power version on YouTube as well. Do check it out. And I also say do it in the silence. And the reason I say do it in the silence is because your mind can be distracted by music, or you can become conditioned to needing music to do it. Whereas you can always find a degree of silence everywhere. It's never truly silent because the neighbors will be mowing their lawn, or a car will be going past, or a policeman or an ambulance with a siren. But what happens is you learn to zone it all out and ignore it. And you can do sit in the power anywhere. In a hotel room, sitting, on a park bench, wherever you are, you can learn to do it if you work in silence. That's why I recommend silence. Okay, let's keep going. Guillermo, it's possible to contact the spirit from a person in a coma, hospitalized. People who are in a coma can link with us, absolutely. Is it possible to link with the living? I have a video on that. And yes, when the person is very close to death, it's almost like when we're close to death, the soul begins to operate. Because when you go to the spirit world, you operate as a soul. So if you like, we have a foot in both worlds as we approach that transition point. And I believe that people who are in a coma, again, have a foot in both worlds. I believe people with Alzheimer's or dementia have a foot in both worlds as well. Absolutely. So yes, it is possible. But can you deliberately link and help them? No, they've got to want to link with you generally. So I cannot truly say that we can link with them ourselves deliberately. So Julia, I can see you've made a super sticker donation. That's gratefully received. Thank you very much. And you've said, all the courses I've taken from you are excellent. I love your visuals and your explanations are very comprehensive. Better platform mediumship is terrific. Really like better evidence. Wonderful. So yeah, getting better evidence, better private readings and better platform mediumship all follow on. And the one I'm currently doing, that is better platform mediumship. That is the current course. We've done 3 classes already, 1 more to go. But if you want to be a part of that, you still can. You get the replays of classes 1 to 3. You don't really miss out on anything, to be honest. All the content is still there. Okay, next question. So thank you for that, Julia. Love life hugs. What do you do if you had a strong ability, then it disappears and your confidence in spirit as well? Does that mean you're not meant to do this work? Or is it just go back to basics? Absolutely. It doesn't mean you're not meant to do this work. It just means something has changed and you have to adapt to those changes. So do check out the video I mentioned on 7 reasons why it feels like your mediumship is getting worse. Sometimes we go into a consolidation phase. Sometimes our mediumship shifts, but we don't adapt to it. Sometimes there's a phrase that many are called, but few are chosen. Is a phrase Gordon Higginson, the late medium, used to say. And the way I interpret that is many people will come to mediumship, but not all of them will stay with it. And we will be tested. And when we hit those challenges, it's how we deal with those challenges. Some people will just walk away. If you walk away, then really mediumship was not something you were truly invested in to do. But if you try every which way to break down those hurdles, cross those barriers, rebuild your confidence, then yes, that's what I'd look for. You know, I woke up one day and didn't believe any of it. I had to go seek my evidence. I had to rebuild my mindset. And it happened. It actually made me stronger, much stronger after that than before. Because other people could have accused me of just going with everything that was said because you kind of needed to hear it from where you were in that state of grief. But a year later, the grief had moderated to the extent that that was no longer a part of the mix. But I became a better medium for challenging it, for having to rebuild it. When we encounter challenges, yes, go back to basics, go back to foundations. Look at your motivation, go back into why you want to do it. Sit with spirit, convey your love of wanting to do this work. And it will happen for you. Give it time. Don't be in a rush. Give it all the time it needs to unfold. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Just got to go with it. Absolutely. And if, you know, with confidence is a really strange thing. I did a whole course on the confident medium where I look at global confidence to more specific issues with confidence, to getting knocked, to having fears. And there's a whole stack of good evidence in that, a good information in that course that would help you. Even down to how we, within our mind, how we talk to ourselves with our positive self-talk, how that affects it, how affirmations affects it, how visualizing ourselves can really give us confidence and power, how we've got to stand in our power. You know, little old me might be nervous or fearful, but when I'm working for spirit, I stand in my soul power. I connect to the soul that knows the importance of this work. And little old ego me just goes. Little old fears drop away. It's so important to recognize that. Those who got confidence may not necessarily started with it. They've built it through doing the work, through doing the development. The development is powerful stuff. So hopefully that helps you. Dominique, I met an old local gentleman went on holiday in Italy 2 years ago. He died last year. I was told he's been my guide for some time now. She got all the details right. So can someone become a guide so soon? Now, that does not feel right to me. I'm sorry. So you have to understand that mediums do get it wrong as well. Someone you meet who you're not got a very, even if you had a connection with them, it doesn't mean they're going to become your guide. Why would they? Yes, they could be a helper if they wanted to. But this is somebody you met, somebody you knew. He might want to come from spirit to be recognized, to be remembered to you. And then the medium says, oh, he's one of your guides. It's all normal mediumship taking place until the medium says, oh, he's one of your guides. And remember, they can't give you that as evidence. Very few mediums can truly tell you who your guides are. When I do a spiritual appraisal, I only want to give someone their guide if it confirms what they've already had. I never give guides for the first time. It's not what I do. I don't believe in it personally. So it doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't make sense. Plus, he's got to the spirit world. He's just passed over. He's got to understand his life in the spirit world. He has to look back at his entire life. He's got all his friends and family in spirit to spend time with, to catch up with. Is he really going to become a guide to you just in an instant? Oh no, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to be your guide. No, most of your guides will have made the decisions prior to you coming here. But your loved ones who are family can become your guides, not guides necessarily, helpers. Family helpers after they pass. They can become helpers for you. I believe I have some family helpers as well. It's been confirmed multiple times through mediums. But they're not my guides. They're helpers who have an interest in me, an interest in my work, and an interest in watching what happens and helping if they can. Because, your loved ones in spirit would want to help you if they can. So it makes logical sense. But I don't believe when people say, oh, that all of a sudden, your mum passed in March and by April she's your guide. No, she's not your main guide. You've got a different main guide. But she'll have an interest in you, she'll care about you, and she might want to help you. Absolutely. She can be a helper. I get that. So I hope that helps. Stacey. Re-guides, my mediumship works very well without knowing them. Absolutely. And this is the important part. You don't need to know it for your mediumship to work. Just trust that they work with you and help you. Absolutely. Thanks for your extensive answer. I love your courses, so I'll check out the meditation course and the Rainbow MP3. Wonderful. Great. So what a beautiful explanation of how soul development helps to connect for mediumship. I'm glad you found it helpful. I wasn't sure if I was answering it really well or not, so there you go. I'm glad you found it helpful. Dominique, are you considering another live online course at all? I'm going to have a break. So the one I'm currently doing is Better Platform Mediumship. The last class of that one will be in February. And I'm going to have a break for a few months while I knuckle down and give my time, effort and dedication to the book. Later in the year, I'm probably going to do a course on guides, funnily enough. So that's going to be the next one. It's going to be all about guides, and I will include within that how to connect your guides and tools and techniques for working with your guides. And you'll get my no-nonsense approach to guides without the fluff. Let me see what's going on here. I keep getting strange people who appear on my channel with strange, odd things. Every time I delete them and hide them from the channel, but someone else comes along. Joy. Okay, where am I got up to? Thank you. I've been asked to tag along in investigations. What I would say with investigations, do go on them. The big problem I have with paranormal investigations is that there really isn't proof. The problem you have is if I go to a haunted house, then how do I really know that I'm picking up the spirit and all the things I'm getting them out there are correct? If their loved one isn't in front of me to confirm that information with, you can't. And what happens is stories built, say a story built up about a ghost in a haunted house, you can psychically tune into that story that has been built, but you're not getting it mediumistically. You think you are, but you're actually just psychically building up into the energy that's been built. And interestingly, in the UK, they did an experiment trying to prove that mediums were frauds. And basically, they created a fictitious character. and they left some bits of information around this around this castle, hotel, or whatever it was, with hints and clues about this character. And they had these mediums come for a screen test for a program about ghost hunting. And they all brought forward the information. And so they said, did they read it and they were fraudulent? Oh, but some of them said they were linking into it, psychically linking into it and believing it was mediumship. And you have to ask the question, is that possible? And maybe it is, yes. So again, that's another thing to consider. So yeah, go along on the investigations, check out how it works for you and see what you think of it. Okay, so I'm going to end in 10 minutes. So I'll work my way through what I've got. If you really do want to get a question as answered, you'll need to do a super chat. So let me see where we are. Kate, what do you think about criminal investigation with mediums who solved or helped to solve cases? Now, for me, psychic detection or using mediumship to help in criminal investigations is a very, very specialized area, and it's not an area that most mediums would necessarily be able to work in. Estelle Roberts, the late great medium, she tried a bit of psychic investigation, got involved in a few cases, and she hated it. She said she really didn't enjoy it. It was the work that bothered her the most, affected her energy the most. Because, you know, if you are linking with people who die in traumatic circumstances, murders, abuse cases, it can be traumatic, absolutely. You've got to be a certain kind of person to do that work. And I see people on Facebook groups, oh, let's all link into this missing person, or do this, or do that. And it's wrong. You should never work on a case that you are not invited to work on. Now, myself, I've tested things because I've got a scientific background, as you know. So what I do is, there'll be a certain case that's in the news in the UK. If I link in and I get some feelings about it, I'll write them down, put it in a book, put it away. Years later, when that case is solved, I can look at what I got and see was any of it accurate. No. Vast majority is just complete rubbish. So I know that I cannot do psychic detection. I know that my ability to do it is not good. And if you want to do it, you need to test yourself in these ways. And the mediums who genuinely do it, helping authorities, police to solve cases, they do not promote it in that way. The police know who they are and they've got a good reputation with the police, but they just don't post things scattergun effect all over the internet. They wouldn't do that because that would affect their reputation. So yes, it happens. There are certain people who are good at it and can do it, but they're a certain kind of person. And I don't believe we should be trying to train everyone to do it. If that's an interest you have, then you could be trained to do it if you tag along with someone who can do it. But I think Facebook groups and things doing this are not good. Imagine you'd lost your child. Imagine your child is a missing person and you've got all these people on Facebook posting that your child is dead or that your child is in the spirit world, that your child was murdered or abused in some way. How's that helping you? That's abuse. I'm sorry, it's abuse. So for me, do not do it. If you are invited to do it as an experienced medium, yes, you may wish to try it, but never publicize it. It's between you, the family, and the police, and that's it. Nobody else. So I hope that helps. Anastasia, do you consider your mediumship a profession, a calling, or your identity? People can consider, if it's what you do for your full-time work, you could call it a profession, but I don't really see it as a profession. Is it a calling? Absolutely, it should be a calling. Is it my identity? No, I'm so much more than that. It's an aspect of me. But different people will answer this question in different ways, you see. You know, am I a professional medium? Well, I don't do mediumship 24/7. I don't do 40 hours of mediumship a week. No, so I'm not a professional medium, I would say. You know, a lot of what I do with my stuff is mediumship related. So, you know, is it a calling? Absolutely. Is it my identity? Well, it's a great deal of who I am. And once you've been working as a medium for many years, I've been now doing mediumship for over 20 years and working as a medium coming on up to 20 years. It is a big part of your life. It's an aspect of your identity, but it's not the entire identity. Hope that answers questions. And your next question, can someone be a medium who is not spiritual? I know a medium like this, how can it work? Absolutely. Spirit will accept all sorts of people. If you are spiritual, it will help. The more spiritual you are, the easier you will unfold and develop, the further you will get. but it's not a prerequisite. I used to look at some mediums on platform and wrongly, from ego point of view, little ego, would look at them thinking, they're not a very nice person. Why does spirit work with them? And the simple answer that spirit say is because everybody has the potential to change. We hope that they will become more spiritual, but we will work with them regardless because the work needs to take place. We need willing volunteers. When people are egotistical and doing it for the wrong reasons, spirit will still work with them. Spirit will work with you in the hope that you awaken and change and become more spiritual. Spiritual self-development, the course. When I started doing these courses, all the top line flows. I started with spiritual self-development, moved on to meditation and sitting for spirit, then moved on to the fundamentals of mediumship, then moved on to getting better evidence, then moved on to better private readings. And that's the natural flow. I put spiritual self-development first deliberately because if we do not develop ourselves spiritually, we're missing the point. If we go through this life working with mediumship and we don't become a better person for it, you've really missed the point. If you go through this life doing mediumship, but you're not doing it from a point of view of service, creating healing, doing it from a place of love, you're really missing the point. And if it doesn't make you a more progressed soul by the time you leave this earth, then it's not served you. So hence, spiritual self-development, highly recommend it. Mag, glasses are not functioning. You've done a super chat, so thank you very much for your super chat. Thanks for answering the previous question. Have another question. When psychically tune into the sitter, we are reading from this person's energy. Absolutely. When you tune in psychically, you're working with the energy of the sitter. You're working with the aura of the sitter. You're working with the energy field of the sitter. Absolutely. So what that means is that we're receiving the energy through our psychic senses, but there's no link to the spirit world. So when we're doing mediumship, it's through the psychic senses also, but we're linking to spirit. When we're doing psychic work, it's through the psychic senses, but we're blending energetically in the here and now with the energy of a person in front of us, or the energy of a place, if we're working with the energy of a room, or an energy of a place, or we're working with an object. Say you're holding an object to do psychometry, you're working with the energy of that object in the here and now. So when I'm working psychically with somebody, you push into their energy and you're receiving information back. We're pushing in and receiving information back. So, to my videos, what's the difference between a psychic and a medium? I talk about that in a bit of detail in that one. And another one, how do you know whether you're receiving information on the psychic or from spirit? I talk about it in that as well. But talk about how the energy has a different feel. When we receive something from psychically, it has a slightly different feel to receiving it from spirit. And if we can learn the difference for us, because it's different for everybody, it will help you with your work. Absolutely. Okay, so Cynthia, would you consider bringing forth personality and mannerisms as evidence? Absolutely. If you bring me a spirit communicator with no personality, I don't like it. Personality for me is key. Personality can unfold the human aspect of a contact. I love personality. Anyone who watches me work, if I don't do personality, tell me off. It should be there every time. Absolutely. Holly, do you currently offer spiritual assessments or appraisals? At the moment, I'm not actually, no. So when I do them, I only do them in person if I do them, because I need a strong psychic connection. Spiritual appraisals are psycho-spiritual. It's a very strong psychic element and a bit spiritual. But mainly I'm working with your energy field and I'm working in your aura and I'm working at the spiritual level of your aura. That's what I'm working with primarily. Trying to do that over Zoom or over a phone call is very hard. It's not the same. It's not easy to do. The psychic link online is minimized. The psychic link on phone is minimized still. So I only do them in person. When I'm working at the college, I do them at the Arthur Findlay College. And if people have an in-person sitting with me, I would do an appraisal. But outside of that, no. I know some mediums who do them online and do them very successfully. But for me, I looked at my results and I wasn't happy with the results I was getting from doing appraisals online. And I figured it out that it was the lack of a psychic energetic link. Some people can link well psychically over Zoom or phone or what have you, but for me, it doesn't work as well for me. So I feel like I'd be shortchanging people to try and give them a spiritual appraisement or assessment online. That's just me. We're all different. Mag, I'm not sure quite what your question relates to. How can we bypass this person's energy, get the information from people around her? How is the sitter's BF really feels towards her? I'm not sure what you mean by that. But when we're working cyclically with somebody, something to remember is we can't cyclically link to other people. What you're doing is you're working with that person's energy. So say you're working with this person can't stand somebody else, but they're actually a really lovely person. You'd psychically read that this person they know is not a very nice person, and they'd say yes to you. Oh yes, so they are. So you're reading the sitter's energy, absolutely. So yeah, so you're reading the sitter's energy, but like what I'm saying is, yeah, so with that sitter's energy, okay, say the sitter, the relationship's not going well. Say you got a sitter and relationship's not going well with their boyfriend. As you link into their energy, you're getting that there's relationship problems. And then you may relate them. And I feel your boyfriend's not a very nice person and you're worried he's having an affair. Yes. You're not saying he is having an affair, but what's happened is that's the energy in their aura you're psychically reading. Boyfriend's not in front of you. You don't have a psychic link to them. You cannot read their energy. All of a sudden they move out of the way and the boyfriend steps in and sits in front of me. You're a really nice person. And it's your girlfriend who's really challenging. I see that. And she's always really needy. And she always thinks that you're doing things with somebody else and might be having an affair. Yeah, I see that. So what happens is when you're reading psychically, you actually read what the person feels, believes, and thinks about other people. I hope that makes sense to you. So we cannot bypass that. All we can read is the person in front of us, nobody else. We can't go sideways to anybody else. And we can't get what anybody else feels or thinks. We can just get that person's impression of it. So I hope that helps answer your question. And a spiritual assessment is basically where you're giving someone an appraisal of their spiritual abilities, their spiritual path to date, and the potentials that are near the surface that may unfold in the future. And that's basically the gist of it. But if you want to know about it in a great deal more details, in better private readings, I explain how you do them. I explain much more detail about them and how to do them as well. That's part and parcel of the better private readings course. So we come to the end of the questions. We've had some great questions today. So I'm going to thank you all for working with me today. Thanks for coming along. If you've enjoyed it, remember, hit the like. If you want to leave a comment, if you're watching this on a replay, you want to leave a comment, that's always greatly appreciated. If you want to subscribe to the channel as well, that's great. You'll be able to keep up with all of my videos and you can also keep up on top of the super chats. If you want to as well subscribe to my newsletter, I do send a newsletter out letting people know when I'm doing the live question answers, the live mediumship clinics. And I will be uploading a few more videos on the channel. It's been a bit quiet. There'll be a few more going up in the coming weeks and months. So thank you everybody for coming. Hope you got lots from it. I shall look forward to seeing you all again in the next one. Take care.